She's 22, I'm 48. I tried to let go, but her smile wouldn't let me. The rain had just stopped drumming against the library windows when she walked in, steam rising from the sidewalks outside like ghosts fleeing the storm. I was Elena Harper, 48 years old, stacking returns in the dim glow of the biography section, the scent of aged paper and damp wool clinging to my sweater like an old regret. Seattle's gray skies pressed down, but inside it was always this quiet, ordered. A fortress I'd built after my divorce 10 years back. No kids, no mess, just books and the faint hum of the espresso machine I'd convinced the board to install last spring. It was my little rebellion, that machine. Folks came for the coffee now, stayed for the stories. Then the bell above the door tinkled, sharp as a heartbeat, and there she was. Mireille, 22, all fire and freckles, shaking droplets from her dark curls like she owned the damn weather. She wore a paint-splattered denim jacket over a faded band tee, something indie I didn't recognize, and carried a sketchpad under one arm, her messenger bag slung low on a hip curve just enough to make the room feel smaller. She scanned the space with eyes like polished jade, lips curving into a smile that hit me square in the chest, knocking the breath right out of me. A sigh escaped before I could catch it, soft and involuntary, like the creak of floorboards under too much weight. "Can I help you find something?" My voice came out steadier than I felt, but my hands betrayed me, fumbling a spine on the cart. She turned and God, that gaze locked on mine, direct, unapologetic, like she'd been waiting for me her whole life. "Just browsing," she said, her voice a warm lilt, threaded with that Pacific Northwest drawl softened by something else, maybe East Coast roots her folks dragged her from. "But if you've got recommendations, I'm all ears." She stepped closer, the faint scent of turpentine and vanilla wafting off her, mixing with the coffee grounds I'd just ground. Up close, she was even more olive skin dusted with cinnamon freckles across her nose, a silver hoop glinting in one earlobe, and that smile wide and crooked, revealing a dimple that promised trouble. I swallowed, my throat dry as old vellum. "What are you in the mood for?" "Escape. Truth." The words hung there, heavier than I meant, but she didn't flinch. Instead, she tilted her head, curls tumbling, and laughed. A sound like wind chimes in a summer breeze, light but laced with something deeper, hungrier. "Both," she replied, eyes dancing. "Hit me with your best shot, Elena." She'd read my name tag, but the way she said it, like she'd known me forever, sent a shiver down my spine, pooling warm in my belly. I led her to the fiction aisle, my loafers whispering against the carpet, her boots scuffing soft behind me. We talked, or rather, she pulled words from me like threads from a loom. About books I'd loved in my 20s, the ones that cracked me open before life sealed me shut again. About her art classes at the community college, how she painted the sound at dawn because the light there felt like secrets spilling out. By closing time, the cafe was empty, rain pattering again like impatient fingers on glass. She lingered by the counter, sketching idly on a napkin while I wiped down the machine. "You ever think about what if?" she asked suddenly, not looking up, her pencil scratching faint lines, a curve here, a shadow there. "What if what?" I leaned on the counter, arms crossed to steady myself, but my pulse thrummed in my ears. "What if the stories aren't just in the books?" Her eyes lifted then, green and piercing, holding mine until the air thickened, charged like the moment before thunder. I felt it then, the pull, magnetic and merciless, drawing me across the invisible line I'd drawn around my heart years ago. 48 to her 22. Worlds apart. But her smile. Christ, that smile. It cracked something in me, a fissure letting light flood in after decades of dusk. I tried to laugh it off, a low huff that sounded more like defeat. "Every day," I admitted, voice barely above the hiss of the steamer. "But what ifs are dangerous. They don't always end like the books." She capped her pencil, standing slow, her height matching mine almost exactly, which felt wrong and right all at once. "Maybe that's the point." She slid the napkin across. A quick sketch of the cafe window, rain blurring the world outside, but inside two figures blurred, two leaning close. "For the road," she said, and brushed my hand as she took her leave. Her skin was warm, callous from brushes and charcoal, and the touch lingered like a brand. That night, alone in my Queen Anne apartment, the city lights smearing gold across the bay, I couldn't sleep. The napkin sat on my nightstand, her lines mocking me. What the hell was I doing? She was a kid, barely out of her teens, chasing dreams in a city that chewed them up. I was me, divorced, settled, with crow's feet and a mortgage that felt like chains. But her laugh echoed in my skull, her scent clung to my sweater. I traced the sketch with my fingertip, heart aching with a want I hadn't felt since Sarah left, taking our plans and leaving echoes. The next morning, fog rolling off the water like cigarette smoke, I found myself at the cafe down the block. Not mine but hers. The one where she slung lattes between classes, her name tag pinned crooked on a black apron. She spotted me through the steam, that smile blooming again, and poured me a black coffee without asking. "Stalker," she teased, sliding it over, her fingers lingering on the cup. "Research," I shot back, but my voice cracked on a grin I couldn't suppress. We talked for her entire break, perched on stools by the window, the world rushing by in blurs of umbrellas and headlights. She told me about her mom, a single painter in Tacoma who'd raised her on thrift store canvases and fierce independence. About coming out at 16, the fights, the freedom. "Love's not a checklist," she said, stirring sugar into her tea, the spoon clinking soft. "It's the mess that sticks." I nodded, throat tight, the steam from my cup warming my face. Sometimes the mess is all you get. But inside, the fissure widened. Her knee brushed mine under the table, accidental at first, then not, and neither of us moved away. The contact burned, sweet and sharp, like biting into a plum too ripe. Days blurred into weeks. She'd slip into the library after shifts, curling up in the armchairs with her sketchpad, drawing patrons or the play of light on spines. I'd bring her tea, strong and unsweetened, and we'd whisper about everything, the way the fairy horns moaned at dusk, the ache of unfinished novels, the quiet terror of wanting more than safe. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the stacks in amber, she reached across the table, tucking a stray hair behind my ear. Her touch was featherlight, but it ignited something feral in me, a gasp catching in my chest. "Elena," she murmured, voice husky, eyes searching mine. "You're beautiful when you let yourself be seen." I froze, the world narrowing to her. The curve of her lip, the rise and fall of her chest, the faint freckle on her collarbone peeking from her shirt. 48 to 22. The math screamed wrong, but my body, my heart. They whispered yes. I leaned in, slow as a confession, our breaths mingling, coffee and mint. Our lips met, soft, tentative, then deepening with a hunger that scared me spitless. She tasted like possibility, like the edge of a cliff I'd never dared jump from. When we broke apart, foreheads pressed, her whisper was a plea. "Don't let go yet." But even then, in the afterglow of that kiss, doubt coiled in my gut like fog off the sound. This wasn't a story with a neat arc. This was real, raw, and riddled with reasons to run. The first time we made love, it was in my apartment, rain lashing the panes like it was trying to break in. We'd walked there from the library, her hand in mine, fingers laced tight against the chill, our steps sinking on slick cobblestones. Laughter bubbled between us, easy as breathing, her teasing me about my professor vibe, me calling her my wild card. But under it, tension thrummed, electric, every brush of shoulders or thighs sending sparks up my spine. By the time we crossed my threshold, the air was thick, charged, the scent of wet earth and her vanilla shampoo filling the space. She kicked off her boots in the hall, toes curling against the rug, and I watched, mesmerized, as she peeled off her jacket, revealing the lithe lines of her arms, ink from a half-finished tattoo snaking toward her elbow, a vine, thorny and alive. "Show me your world," she said, voice low, eyes gleaming in the lamplight. I led her to the living room, walls lined with shelves groaning under books, a worn leather couch facing the bay window where fairies ghosted through mist. We started slow, tentative, her hand on my cheek, thumb tracing my jaw, my fingers sifting through her curls, tugging gentle until she sighed, a sound like silk tearing. That sigh undid me. I pulled her close, our bodies aligning, curves to curves, the heat of her seeping through my blouse. Lips met again, hungrier now, tongues exploring with a urgency that made my knees buckle. She tasted of the peppermint gum she'd chewed on the walk, sharp and sweet, and I groaned into her mouth, the vibration humming between us. Clothes came off in a tangle, buttons popping soft, zippers rasping, fabric whispering to the floor. Her skin was fever warm under my palms, smooth as river stones, freckles mapping constellations across her shoulders, down to the swell of her breasts. I traced them with lips and tongue, savoring the salt of her, the way she arched, breath hitching in little gasps that clawed at my restraint. "Elena," she whispered, nails digging into my back, leaving half-moons I'd find later, badges of this madness. We tumbled to the couch, her straddling me, thighs strong from hiking the trails up in the Olympics, pinning me with a grin that was all mischief and need. Her hands roamed over the soft give of my belly, scarred from a life lived full, up to cup my breasts, thumbs circling nipples until I whimpered, hips bucking up to meet hers. The friction was exquisite torture, slick and building, our rhythms sinking like waves crashing in tandem. Sounds filled the room, wet kisses, murmured pleas, the creak of springs under our weight, rain a relentless backdrop like applause. When she slid down, parting my thighs with reverent hands, I tensed, exposed in ways beyond the physical. 48 meant lines, stories etched in skin, but she looked at me like I was art, her masterpiece. Her mouth found me, hot and insistent, tongue flicking with a precision that shattered me. I came undone with a cry, fingers knotted in her hair, body convulsing in waves that left me trembling, tears pricking my eyes from the sheer ache of it. She climbed back up, kissing me deep, letting me taste myself on her. And then it was my turn, worshipping her, learning the map of her with lips and fingers, drawing out her moans until she shattered too, back bowing, name a chant on her lips. We lay tangled after, sweat cooling on skin, her head on my chest, heartbeat thundering under her ear. The rain eased to a drizzle, tapping Morse code on the glass. "That was," she trailed off, tracing lazy circles on my hip. "Everything," I finished, voice raw, but doubt crept in even then, a shadow at the edges. She was young, vibrant, her whole canvas blank. What was I, if not a smudge? Mornings after that blurred into a rhythm all our own. She'd wake me with coffee brewed strong, black as midnight, steam curling like questions. We'd eat toast at the kitchen island, crumbs scattering, her feet hooked around my stool, toes playing against my calf. "Tell me a secret," she'd demand, chin on fist, eyes bright as the bay under sun. I'd hesitate, then spill about the novel I'd abandoned in my 30s, characters still haunting me, about Sarah's laugh, how it echoed in empty rooms. She'd listen, really listen, sketching me in profile, capturing the lines around my eyes with strokes that felt like caresses. In return, she'd share fragments. The ex who ghosted after Pride last year. The fear that her art would never sell, leaving her slinging lattes forever. "But you," she'd say, hand squeezing mine, "you make me believe in plot twists." We explored the city like lovers in a film, hands brushing in Pike Place under the gulls' cries, her feeding me salmonberries tart and bursting on my tongue. Nights at my place turned ritual, her painting by the window, turpentine sharp in the air, me reading aloud from dog-eared paperbacks, voices weaving together until we'd migrate to bed, bodies rediscovering each other with a fervor that bordered on desperate. The sounds of us, gasps, laughter muffled in sheets, the slap of skin became my soundtrack, drowning out the world's noise. But cracks showed. At a gallery opening she dragged me to, downtown's glittery haze of wine and whispers, eyes lingered. Not on the canvases but on us, the age gap, a neon sign. A silver-haired curator cornered me by the charcuterie, breath sour with Merlot. "Mentor?" he asked, brow arched, implying less savory things. I stiffened, smile brittle, while Mia chatted oblivious across the room, her laugh cutting through like sunlight. Later, in the cab home, fog swallowing streetlights, I stared out the window, her head on my shoulder. "People talk," I muttered, the words bitter as bile. She lifted, eyes narrowing. "Let them. We're not their story." But her grip tightened, knuckles white, and I wondered if she felt it too, the weight of eyes, the math that didn't add up. My ex called one afternoon, voice tinny through the line as I shelved returns. Heard you're seeing someone. Younger. Sarah's tone dripped concern, but it stung like judgment. I hung up fast, but the seed lodged, sprouting thorns. Mia found me later, curled in the armchair, book forgotten. She knelt, hands on my knees, worry etching her face. Hey, whatever it is, we're in it. I pulled her up, burying my face in her neck, inhaling her vanilla and resolve. I know. Just scared. The admission hung vulnerable, but she kissed it away, slow and sure, until fear dissolved in the heat of her. Yet doubt whispered louder at night, when she'd crash from exhaustion, limbs sprawled like a starfish, and I'd lie awake tracing her profile in moonlight. 22 meant beginnings. 48, middles bleeding into ends. What right did I have to her light? But her smile, even in sleep, curved soft, pulling me back from the edge. I tried to ignore the pull, to frame it as fleeting, but every dawn, tangled in sheets scented with us, I failed. One weekend she convinced me to hike Discovery Park. Trails muddy from recent rains, pines dripping like they'd wept. We climbed hand in hand, breaths puffing white in the chill, her energy boundless, mine flagging but fueled by her. At the overlook, sound sprawling blue below, gulls wheeling, she spun me, kissing me fierce against a cedar bark rough on my back. This, she panted, forehead to mine. This is us. No what ifs. I believed her then, heart swelling, the wind carrying away my fears. But as we descended, phone buzzing in my pocket, a board meeting reminder, adulting's cold slap, reality intruded. She was summer, I was fall, approaching winter. How long before the leaves turned? Fall crept in like a thief, leaves turning crimson and gold along the waterfront, the air crisp with salt and decay. Our thing, because calling it love felt too big, too breakable, deepened, roots tangling in ways I hadn't braced for. Mia started leaving traces. A half-finished canvas propped by the fridge, tubes of cerulean and ochre cluttering my vanity, her hoodie draped over the chair like a claim. I'd find notes scrawled on post-its. Your laugh is my favorite color. Stuck to the bathroom mirror, steam from showers blurring the ink but not the warmth. We cooked together on Sundays, her chopping garlic with reckless abandon, knife thwacking board in erratic rhythm, me stirring risotto slow, cream bubbling rich. The kitchen filled with sizzle and steam, her hip bumping mine as she reached for salt, a playful nudge turning into a press, bodies aligning until the spoon clattered forgotten. Later, she'd murmur against my neck, nipping the lobe, sending shivers racing down to pool low. And later we did on the counter's edge, her legs wrapped tight, moans echoing off tiles, the scent of sex mingling with sage. But intimacy bred vulnerability, and that's when the storms hit. Her first big fight with her mom spilled over one night. Phone slammed down after a call that started with hellos and ended in shouts. She says I'm throwing my life away. Art school's a joke and you're a phase. Mia paced my living room, curls wild, cheeks flushed, voice cracking on the last word. I reached for her but she flinched, eyes glassy. Am I? To you. The question landed like a gut punch, stealing my air. I pulled her down to the rug, knees to chest, our faces inches apart, the wool scratching my palms. No, I whispered fierce, cupping her face, thumbs swiping tears that tasted salty on my lips when I kissed them away. You're the plot I didn't know I needed. We clung then, her sobs muffled in my shirt, my own eyes burning as I rocked her, the city's hum a distant lullaby. That night sleep came fitful, her body curled into mine, small and fierce, and I vowed silently to shield her from the world's barbs, even my own doubts. My shadows loomed larger though. At the library, whispers slithered, a coworker, Janet from circulation, cornering me in the break room, coffee mug steaming between us like a barrier. That girl. Mia? She's half your age, Elena. People notice. Her tone was pity wrapped in concern, eyes flicking to the door as if scandal lurked. I stiffened, mug handle biting into my palm, the bitter drip down my throat turning sour. My life, I said, voice steel. Not their gossip. But walking back to the stacks, knees weak, her words echoed, amplifying the roar in my head. Half my age. A phase. What if they were right? I pulled back, subtle at first, skipping her shifts at the cafe, claiming late nights with inventory. She'd text, hearts and sketches of coffee cups, but I'd reply clipped, excuses piling like unread returns. One evening she showed up anyway, sketchpad under arm, rain beating on her lashes. Missed you, she said, slipping behind the counter during a lull, hands finding my waist, chin hooking over my shoulder. Her warmth seeped through, thawing the ice I'd packed around my heart, but guilt twisted sharp. Busy, I lied, stacking mugs with clinks that sounded accusatory. She spun me, gentle eyes searching, that dimple absent for once. Talk to me. The plea cracked me, words tumbling, the stares, the math, the fear I'd dim her shine. She listened silent, then cupped my face, kiss fierce and forgiving. We're not math. We're this. Her hand pressed over my heart, feeling it stutter. We closed early that night, flipping the sign with a decisive click, and drove to Alki Beach, windows down, salt wind whipping our hair. Twilight bled purple over the sound, waves lapping pebbles like confessions. We walked barefoot, jeans rolled, her hand swinging mine, toes digging cold sand. Remember when I said love's the mess? She asked, stopping to face me, breakers crashing behind like thunder. I nodded, throat tight. Well, I'm all in on the mess with you. She dropped to one knee then, not for rings but for a pebble smooth sea-worn, etched with a heart she'd scratched quick with a key. Promise you'll fight the doubts with me? Tears blurred her face, hot on my cheeks, and I hauled her up, kissing her salt-stung lips until we were gasping, sand shifting under stumbling feet. Back home we made love urgent, clothes shed in the hall, bodies slamming doors shut on fears. Her nails raked my back, drawing red lines of possession, my teeth grazing her shoulder until she yelped, pleasure pain twisting her cry into my name. We peaked together, tangled and trembling, aftershocks rippling like tides. For a breath it held harmony in the chaos. She sold her first piece, a stormy seascape that captured the city's soul, hung in a Fremont gallery with a red by week's end. We celebrated at a dive bar, neon buzzing overhead, her in a sundress that hugged her like a second skin, me in slacks and silk, feeling almost young. Shots of tequila burned smooth, her foot hooking my ankle under the table, laughter bubbling as she recounted the buyer's awe. To us, she toasted, glass clinking mine, eyes locking with heat that promised more. But joy's a fragile thing. My doctor's visit came unannounced, routine check, but the results lingered like fog. Early signs of arthritis in my hands, the ones that turned pages, held hers. Nothing dramatic, the doc said, voice bland as the waiting room magazines, but it hit like a verdict. Fading. While she bloomed, I hid the script for meds in my purse, fingers aching as I gripped the wheel home. Traffic snarling horns around me. That night as she sketched by the fire, crackle and pop filling the quiet, I watched her, profile gilded in orange, brush moving fluid where mine would soon falter. Panic clawed up, irrational and iron. What if I couldn't keep up? What if my body betrayed us before my heart could? She caught me staring, smile tilting. Penny for your thoughts? Just you. I lied again, crossing to kiss her crown, inhaling her to ground myself. But sleep evaded, her even breaths mocking my turmoil, the clock ticking accusations. The real fracture came at her mom's Thanksgiving. A squat craftsman in Tacoma, turkey roasting golden, cranberry sauce bubbling tart. I'd met Rosa before, brief and wary, her hug stiff, eyes appraising. This time, with the age gap glaring under fluorescent kitchen lights, tension simmered like the gravy. So librarian, Rosa said, carving knife flashing. What's a woman like you want with my girl? Direct, no sugar, the words slicing air thick with sage and suspicion. Mia stiffened beside me, fork pausing mid-air. But I forced a smile, steady. Her light, I said simple, meeting Rosa's gaze. She makes the world brighter. A beat, then Rosa nodded, grudging, passing the potatoes. But the seed was planted in Mia too. I saw it in her quiet after. Drive home silent save for wipers swishing rain. You're not a phase, she burst finally, hand squeezing my thigh, voice fierce. Don't let her make you think that. I pulled over at a viewpoint, engine ticking cool, overlooking the Narrows Bridge strung with lights like stars fallen. It's not her. It's me. The gap. It's widening. Tears came then, hot and unbidden, her wiping them with thumbs rough from clay. She kissed me slow, hands framing my face, whispers of stay against my lips until doubt receded, if only for the night. But fractures deepen unseen, and ours was spiderwebbing, waiting for the quake. Winter clamped down hard, snow dusting the Cascades like powdered sugar on a bitter pill, holidays looming with their tinsel traps. Mia and I navigated the season hand in hand, stringing lights on my balcony overlooking the market, her laughter ringing as bulbs tangled our fingers, sparks flying when metal met metal. We'd bake gingerbread, dough sticky under palms, her stealing dough balls to pop in her mouth, chasing me around the island with flour-dusted kisses that tasted of spice and sin. You're my holiday miracle, she'd murmur, pinning me against the fridge, magnets clattering, her body a warm anchor in the chill seeping through cracks. But miracles crack under pressure. My hands worsened, stiffness creeping into mornings, joints protesting as I flipped pancakes, batter splattering like accusations. I'd hide the winces, popping pills in the bathroom, water rushing to drown the swallow. Mia noticed, though, her artist's eye sharp. What's going on? She'd ask, brush pausing mid-stroke, paint flecking her cheek like war paint. Nothing, I'd deflect, kissing her temple, inhaling turpentine to mask the lie. But guilt gnawed a rat in the walls, amplifying every creak. Then came the library's holiday party, eggnog punch spiked heavy, carols warbling from tinny speakers, co-workers in ugly sweaters milling like festive sheep. Mia arrived late, snowflakes melting in her hair. A gift bag swinging, a leather-bound journal, pages thick as promise. For your novel, she said, eyes shining, pulling me into a alcove where garlands scratched our arms. We kissed there, hidden, her tongue tracing mine with holiday heat, hands wandering under wool until a cough shattered the bubble. Janet again, eyes wide then narrowing. Careful, she hissed low, glancing back at the crowd. Board finds out. The implication hung tart as the punch and Mia's grip tightened, nails biting crescents. We left early, coats clutched, snow swirling thick as my thoughts. In the car, heater blasting stale air, she exploded. Why do they get to decide? Voice raw, fists balled in lap. I reached over, but she shrugged away, staring out at whiteout streets. You're letting them in your head, Elena. Us against them, remember. I know, I whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. But the weight pressed, board meetings flashing funding cuts, whispers of professionalism. My job, my stability teetering. For her? Worth it in abstract. But reality bit harder, teeth sinking deep. The break came New Year's Eve, fireworks blooming over the Space Needle, bursts of color painting her face in the window seat. We'd planned quiet champagne chilling, her playlist of indie folk crooning low, strings plucking heartstrings. But my phone rang insistent, Sarah's name flashing like a bad omen. Just checking in, she said, voice syrup over gravel. Heard about your situation. Be careful, Elle. She's young. They'll say you're predatory. The word landed like a slap, echoing in my skull long after I hung up. Predatory? Me? The woman who'd spent decades shelving dreams. Not stealing them? Mia found me in the kitchen, glass trembling in hand, bubbles fizzing frantic. X? She guessed, arm slipping around from behind, chin on shoulder. Yeah. I leaned back, her solidity a lifeline, but the poison spread. We toasted anyway, lips meeting over flutes, effervescence sharp on tongues, but the kiss faltered, my mind snagging on thorns. Midnight struck, booms shaking glass, and she pulled me to the balcony, cold biting cheeks, her in my coat too big, sleeves dangling. Resolution, she demanded, breath clouding between us. No more doubts. I tried, words forming heavy. I want that. God, Mia, I do. But as colors rained down, illuminating her upturned face, young, fierce, unbroken fracture lines glowed. But what if I'm holding you back? Her eyes flashed hurt then steel. You're lifting me. She kissed me then, desperate, hands fisting my shirt, pulling until we stumbled inside, shedding layers on the threshold. We fucked like it was salvation, her on top, hips grinding urgent, my nails scoring her thighs, cries swallowed in the din of cheers outside. Climax hit hard, ripping gasps from us both, bodies slick and shuddering, but after in the tangle her whisper cut deep. Don't make me beg you to stay. I held her tighter, tears silent on my pillow, the new year dawning gray. January dragged, slush sucking at boots, days shortening to stubs. She dove into a new series, Portraits of Women in Transition, her studio a corner of my living room now, easels crowding like insistent guests. I'd watch her work, brush dipping in oils that gleamed wet, strokes building layers of shadow and light. This one's you, she'd say, nodding to a canvas half-formed. A woman emerging from fog, eyes wise and weary, but smiling faint. It humbled me, that seeing, but amplified the ache. My hands betrayed more. Dropping a mug one morning, porcelain shattering sharp, shards scattering like my resolve. She swept it up, no questions, but her glance lingered, worry etching fine lines I hadn't seen before. 22 and already creasing from my burdens. The ultimatum brewed slow, bubbling under surfaces. A weekend getaway to the San Juans, her idea. Ferry chugging through straits choppy with wind, gulls screeching overhead. We rented a cabin on Orcas, cedar walls creaking, fireplace roaring against damp. Mornings we'd hike to beaches strewn with driftwood, her skipping stones flat across gray waves, flips echoing my pulse. Watch, she'd call, arm arcing graceful, stones dancing longer each try. I'd clap, chest tight, but afternoons in the cabin turned tender, her sketching me by the window, light slanting gold on my skin, my reading to her from Austin, voices mingling with crackles. Nights we'd make love slow, exploratory, fingers mapping new territories, her tongue tracing collarbones, my lips suckling breasts until she keened, back arching off flannel sheets. The air smelled of pine and us, sweat and satisfaction. Her head on my thigh after, breath sinking to the sea's distant roar. But on the last night, stars pricking black velvet outside, storm winds howling, she turned serious, propped on elbow, hair tousled. I love you. The words dropped simple, seismic, her eyes steady as lighthouse beams. My heart seized, joy and terror twisting. Mia. I breathed, hand cupping her cheek, thumb stroking soft. I love you too. But it's a lot. For you. Bullshit. She sat up, sheet pooling, firelight dancing on curves. You're scared. Of them, of time, of me outgrowing you. But love isn't safe, Elena. It's the risk. Tears welled in her jade depths, spilling hot. Don't push me away because you're afraid. I broke then, sobs wrenching, her arms enveloping as thunder rolled. We clung through the gale, rain sheeting windows, my whispers of sorry lost in her hair. Morning dawned clear, fairy horn moaning farewell, but the rift lingered, a fault line waiting. Back in Seattle, routine resumed fractured. I threw myself into work, volunteering for extra shifts, stacks blurring under fluorescent hum. She'd come by, face falling at my distance, but I'd cite deadlines, pecs instead of pulls. One night she cornered me in the bedroom, door clicking shut, eyes blazing. This ends now. Either we're in or what? My voice trembled, walls closing. Or I walk. The words hung final as frost. Panic surged, but so did clarity, the void without her yawned black. I crossed the room, pulling her flush, kiss bruising with need. In, I gasped against her mouth. All in. Relief flooded her, bodies crashing to bed in a frenzy of yes. Clothes torn, skin slapped, her riding me hard until we shattered, screams echoing empty fears away. But peace is fleeting. February brought her exhibit. A solo show in Belltown, walls hung with her women raw and radiant. Opening night, crowd buzzing, wine flowing tart. I stood proud in the corner, her dress clinging emerald to match her eyes. She shone, shaking hands, voice carrying anecdotes laced with passion. But as midnight neared, A collector sidled up, mid-30s, sharp suit, charm-oiled. Stunning work, he purred, hand on her elbow, gaze lingering too long. Jealousy spiked, irrational, hot. I slipped out, coat grabbed hasty, cold slapping cheeks as I wandered to the pier, waves slapping pilings like reprimands. She found me there, breathless, coat flapping. Elena? What the hell? You're brilliant, I choked, wind-whipping words. You deserve more. Not this hiding, this scrutiny. She grabbed my arms, shaking gentle. Stop. It's you or nothing. Kissed then, salt and desperate, but as fireworks popped for Valentine's, early erroneous doubt whispered again. Nothing lasts. Spring teased with false starts, cherry blossoms shedding pink confetti on sidewalks, but our thaw stalled at slush. Mia's exhibit sold out, critics in the stranger calling her, a voice unafraid of vulnerability. Words that swelled my chest even as they squeezed. We celebrated in a rooftop bar. City sprawled glittering below. Her in heels that clicked confident, me nursing gin, ice clinking like uneasy thoughts. Toasts rang to her, to us, but under the table, her foot traced my ankle, a silent anchor amid chatter. Yet the scrutiny sharpened. Anonymous email to the library board. Inappropriate conduct with a patron minor. Minor. The word gutted me. Forwarded chain clinking in my inbox like chains. Meeting called swift, wood-paneled office. Air stale with coffee and judgment, director's face pinched. Elena, we value you, but optics. Optics. As if love had a filter. I defended quiet, facts over fury. She's 22, consenting, no rules broken. But the suspension loomed, paid but shadowed, 2 weeks to reflect. I told Mia over takeout, pad thai steaming, lime wedges bright as lies unsaid. Her fork-stilled, eyes widening. They can't. But they could, and rage flickered in her fists clenching noodles, voice rising sharp. Fight it. We fight. I tried, appeal drafted on legal pads. Ink smudging under sweaty palms, but inside defeat curled cold. That night we argued, first real one, words whipping like wind through evergreens. You're giving up, she accused, pacing, curls bouncing fury. I'm protecting you, I shot back, voice cracking, standing from the table with a scrape that set teeth on edge. From this, the fallout, the labels. Protecting? Or quitting? Tears tracked her cheeks, mascara smearing black rivers. She stormed out, door slamming echo, leaving me in silence thick as fog, chopsticks abandoned, rice cooling congealed. Days blurred to gray. She crashed at a friend's, text sparse. Need space hitting like bricks. I wandered the apartment, ghosts in every corner. Her brush on the sill, hoodie slung casual, now mocking. Sleep fled, sheets cold without her weight, dreams tangled in her laugh and the slam of that door. Work suspended meant time too much, replaying every misstep. The age, the whispers, the fear I'd always been the villain in my own tale. On day 5, rain relentless, I drove to her mom's. Uninvited, desperate, wipers slapping rhythm to my pulse. Rosa answered, apron dusted flour, eyes wary but softening at my face, haggard in the porch light. Come in, she said, no questions, leading to the kitchen where bread cooled golden on racks. Yeast scent warm as reluctant welcome. She poured tea, chamomile steaming, and I spilled, halting at first, then torrent. The email, the suspension, Mia's storm out. Rosa listened, stirring slow, spoon tinkling china. Love's not easy, she said finally, voice gravel from years of solo raising. Especially when the world's got opinions. But Mia. She's fire. You either burn with her or get singed running. Her words lodged embers in ash. What if I put out her light? Rosa's laugh barked soft. Girl, you lit it brighter. Now go fix it. She pressed a tin of cookies into my hands. Almond, crisp-edged, and shooed me out. Rain sheeting down as I sat in the car, engine idling, tears mixing with drops on the wheel. I found her at the studio. A warehouse loft in Soto, trains rumbling distant, air thick with turpentine and regret. She sat cross-legged on drop cloths, canvas before her slashed black and red, rage rendered raw. Go away, she muttered, brush stabbing wet. but her voice wobbled, brushstrokes trembling. No. I knelt, paint cold on knees, tin set aside. I was wrong. Scared shitless but wrong. Silence stretched, broken only by her breaths, ragged. Then the board. It's messy. She dropped the brush, splatter blooming like blood. Messy as us. Since day one. Eyes met, red-rimmed, and she crawled to me. Forehead pressing mine, breaths mingling mint and grief. I walked because I couldn't watch you fold. I won't. Promise sealed with kiss, tentative then torrent, her hands fisting my shirt, pulling until we sprawled amid paints, colors streaking skin like war paint. We made love there. Urgent on the floor, her straddling, hips rolling fierce, my fingers digging bruises on thighs, gasps echoing off concrete. Climax tore screams from us, bodies quaking, afterglow sticky with sweat and pigments, her head on my chest, heartbeat drumming truce. Reconciliation bloomed fragile. She helped draft the appeal, words fierce on paper, her sketches illustrating love as art, imperfect, enduring. We submitted together, hands clasped under the table, her thumb stroking my knuckle, steadying the ache. Waiting gnawed, but we filled days with small salvations. Picnics in Green Lake, ducks quacking for crumbs, her head in my lap, fingers combing curls as clouds scud. Nights we danced slow in the living room to Coltrane, vinyl crackling warm, her body swaying soft against mine. Whispers of futures traded like secrets. The board's response came mid-May. Blossoms heavy outside, reinstatement, with a discreet conduct clause that chafed like wool. Victory tasted bittersweet. Champagne popped hasty. Fizz sprang like suppressed cheers. To fighting, she toasted, eyes gleaming, pulling me to the balcony where city hummed below, lights winking approval. But scars linger. Her next fight with Rosa escalated over me again, voices carrying through phone pressed to ear. She's twice my age, Mija. What about kids, a life? Mia's face crumpled, hanging up mid-sob, collapsing into me on the couch. She doesn't get it. Us. I held her, rocking gentle, the scent of her shampoo. Now familiar as home grounding. She will. Or she won't. But we do. That night, vulnerability piqued her, opening fully. Legs spread wide, my mouth worshipping slow, drawing whimpers until she begged. Release crashing with a wail that shook us both. After tangled, she traced my arthritis-knobbed fingers. These hands. They hold me. That's enough. Summer hinted, heat waves shimmering off pavement, but my resolve tested again. An old flame emailed from college, now a professor in Portland, invite to a conference, subtext thick as fog. Catch up. But it was escape, siren call to simpler times. I deleted, but temptation itched, doubt's old friend. Mia sensed, over dinner, salmon grilling smoky, corn charring sweet. What's eating you? Fork poised, eyes piercing. I confessed, shame hot. Just. What if this is a detour for you? Words hung vulnerable as stripped wire. She set down utensils, clinking final, rounding the table to straddle my lap, hands framing face. Detour? You're the goddamn destination. Kiss then, deep and devouring, chair creaking under us as hands roamed, dinner forgotten in the blaze. We ate cold later, plates on knees in bed, laughter bubbling at the absurdity, her feeding me bites with fingers I sucked clean, heat building anew. Yet the chasm yawned wider in quiet moments. Watching her at a street fair, bargaining for beads with vendors, her energy infectious, laughter drawing strangers in. I saw futures branching without me. Kids maybe, a partner her age unburdened. Heart ached, a bruise throbbing. That night as she slept, I slipped out to the balcony, city breathing below, tears cold on cheeks. Let go, I urged myself for her. But her smile haunted, etched in memory, refusing release. The breaking point crested at pride. Rainbow flags snapping in breeze, drums thumping bass through veins, bodies a sea of glitter and grit. We marched hand in hand, her sign bold. Love knows no age. Cheers swelled, but a counter-protester's shout pierced. Cougars ruin lives. Directed at us, venom spitting. Mia faltered, grip slipping, face paling under the sun. I pulled her aside into a cafe alley, Walls graffiti-tagged vibrant. Ignore, I urged, but she shook, eyes wild. It's always there. The gap. Maybe Mom's right. No. I cupped her face, thumbs fierce. We're right. But as floats blared horns, confetti raining sticky, she pulled away, voice small. I need to think. She vanished into the crowd, leaving me adrift, heart pounding to techno beats, the alley echoing empty. Hours later, voicemail. Space. Love you, but. Space. The words gutted, phone slipping from numb fingers. Alone in the throng, rain starting sudden, I walked home soaked, petals pasting streets, sobs lost in downpour. Let go, I repeated, mantra cruel. For her smile to shine unshadowed. Autumn returned relentless, leaves crunching underfoot like brittle bones. The city exhaling summer's heat in sighs of chill. 2 weeks stretched to 3 without Mia. No texts, no sketches slipped under door. Just silence vast as the sound on foggy dawns. I threw myself into the library, shelves a refuge, fingers stiff but sorting volumes with mechanical grace. Patrons' queries a distraction from the void. Nights the apartment echoed hollow. Her absence a scent gone, vanilla faded from pillows. Turpentine evaporated from sills. I'd traced the ghost of her notes on the fridge. Magnets mocking, and pour wine red as regret. Glass cold against lips. Friends noticed Janet, thawing with awkward coffees. You okay? I'd nod, lies smooth as pages turning but inside unraveling. Dreams plagued. Her smile fracturing like glass under boot, shards cutting deep. Awake, I'd wander the market at dawn, stalls shuttered, fishmongers' calls distant. Imagining her bargaining for berries, dimple flashing. Let go, I'd whisper to the gulls wheeling overhead. But the words choked, lodged with love. The appeal to fight back came unexpected. Rosa. Phoning hesitant, voice crackling line. She's a mess, Elena. Painting nothing but blacks. Come over. Heart lurching, I drove south, wipers swishing mist, Tacoma's light smearing. Rosa met me at the door, flower still on apron, eyes softer than before. Kitchen, she said, leading to table-strewn photos, Mia as kid, gap-toothed grin. Teen with canvas, fierce focus. She loves heart. Like her father. Don't let fear win. Words pierced simple truth. I tried letting go. For her. Rose's hand covered mine, callous from brushes like Mia's. Letting go's easy. Holding on, that's the art. She pushed a key across, to the studio. Go. Before she paints herself gone. Studio loomed, warehouse dim, door creaking open to chaos. Canvases slashed, rage and oils dripping floors, air thick with solvent sting. Mia hunched on stool, back to me, brush limp in fist, latest work a void, black swallowing light. Rosa, I said. She spun, eyes widening, then shuddering, jaw tight. What are you doing here? Fighting. I stepped in, door clicking shut, heart hammering bass. For us. Silence stretched, broken by her scoff, sharp as shattered porcelain. You left. Gave up at the first shove. Voice raw, brush clattering to tray, paints rattling like bones. No. I closed distance, hands raised placate. I pushed because I thought you fly higher without my weight. But God, Mia, without you. Throat closed, tears hot. The world's dim. Your smile. It's my son. She stood, trembling, curls a halo in slanted light from high windows. And the gap? The stairs? It'll break us. Maybe. I reached, fingers brushing hers, electric even in anger. But breaking together beats alone. Her hand turned, lacing tight. Calluses familiar, grounding. Tears spilled hers then, twin tracks, and she crashed into me, sobs wrenching, my arms banding steel as we sank to drop cloths, paints cool under knees. I'm sorry, she gasped, face buried in neck, breath hot. Scared too. Of losing you to doubts. We clung, rocking, the warehouse humming distant trains, a lullaby to our storm. When sobs eased, she pulled back, eyes searching, thumb swiping my cheek. Promise? No more running. Promise. Sealed with kiss, soft at first, tasting salt in second chance. Then deepening, hands roaming urgent under shirt, over ribs, nails grazing skin to raise gooseflesh. We stripped slow, reverent, her dress pooling emerald, my blouse unbuttoned deliberate, exposing scars and softness. On the floor amid chaos we reclaimed her lips on my throat, sucking marks of mine, my fingers parting her, curling deep until she arched, moan echoing rafters. Reciprocity fierce, her mouth hot between thighs, tongue laving until stars burst, body convulsing in waves that drown doubts. After, tangled in limbs and pigments, breath sinking ragged, she traced my knuckles, swollen but steady. We'll weather it. Together. We did, inch by stubborn inch. Bored claws chafed, but I wore it like armor, holding her hand open at events, stares met with chin high. Rosa thawed gradual, dinners tentative, then warm, her passing canvases with gruff not bad. Mia's grin blooming full. My hands ached chronic, but she adapted art looser grips, her massaging oil slick at night. Thumbs kneading knots while Coltrane spun soulful. Summer swelled again, heat lazy, us bolder. Pride that year signs twin. Age is just a number mine. Love defies it, hers marching lockstep, cheers washing doubts away. Her art evolved series on enduring bonds, us woven subtle in strokes, sold to galleries humming approval. My novel stirred, words flowing hesitant from the journal she gifted, chapters emailed her for edits, her notes fierce love letters in margins. One August eve, sunset bleeding orange over the bay, we picnicked at gasworks, blankets tartan, wine chilled in a cooler sweating beads. Fireworks unplanned, locals show, burst sinking to our pulse as she leaned in, ring box velvet in palm. Not diamond flash but opal swirled, her birthstone twined with mine, simple band. Marry me. Voice steady, eyes vast as the sky. Not for papers. For us. The mess, the magic. Tears blurred fireworks, heart full burst. Yes. Kissed then under stars falling, her whoop drawing glances, but we laughed unashamed, bodies pressing close as booms faded to echoes. Years folded forward, not linear but layered, her studio thriving, mine a co-op with classes on queer lit, hands gnarled but gesturing stories still. Wrinkles matched now, hers faint laugh lines mirroring mine, gray threading her curls like silver in my waves. We weathered more, her mom's passing quiet, us holding vigil with canvases of sunsets, my retirement, books past but stories scribed in journals stacked high. On our 10th anniversary, balcony strung lights twinkling, Seattle's hum a serenade. She pulled me close, slow dance to no music but wind. Tried to let go once, she murmured, breath warm on neck. But my smile wouldn't let you. I finished, grin crooked, dimple hers now etched in memory. We laughed, soft bodies swaying familiar. The gap not chasm but bridge, spanned in touches, whispers, the quiet certainty of enduring. Love, we'd learned, isn't timeless perfection. It's the choice daily to hold through storms. And in her eyes, jade still bright, I saw forever not as fairy tale but fact. Her smile my anchor defying every shadow.